Alright, so the note should be super easy, super short today. It's basically just word problems with everything that we did yesterday, okay? So, nothing new. The first part, we're going to just write an expression for what they're talking about. So, it says a restaurant can seat at most 172 people. So, we're going to have a variable for how many people are in the restaurant. So, what do y'all want to use? X? Okay. And then on the other side, we're going to have 172. And they're telling us that they can seat at most that many. So can the number of people in the restaurant be bigger than 172? If it says at most 172. That's the max, right? So it's got to be a less than there. You can put an equal to on it. I'm not super picky about when you use those unless they flat out say equal to. If they say that and you don't put one, then that's a problem. Otherwise, as long as you got it going in the right direction, I'm good. Thanks. Questions on that? Okay, so for the next one, it says you have to be at least 35 years old to be elected president. So we're going to have a variable for the age for however old you are. What do y'all want to use? P? Okay. Okay, I was like, where did that come from? I was thinking like age. And then 35 on the other side. So if you're at least 35, does that mean your age has to be more than 35 or less than 35? More. So do we need a less than or greater than?
Greater than.
Good. Okay. Questions so far? Alright, so for the next ones, we're actually going to have to solve these a little bit. So it says the student club plans to buy food for a soup kitchen. A case of vegetables costs $10.68, so one case costs $10.68. The clubs can spend at most $50 for this project. What are the possible numbers of cases that the club can buy? So we know that a case costs how much money? $10.68. Do we know how many cases we're buying? So what do we put when we don't know? So $10.68 what? Plus x times x divided by x. Times x. And then we have at most $50. So on the other side we're going to have 50. If that's all the money that we have to spend, can whatever we spend on the cases of food be more than 50? So do we need a less than or a greater than? Is that okay? If you don't have a calculator, you're going to need it. Do you want to go grab it real quick? Quickly. Alright, so to solve this inequality, what are we going to have to do? Anybody know? And how do we know to divide here? Okay, it's being multiplied by x. That's what I was looking for. So divide 50 by 1068. Are we going to get an even number? Is it going to come out nicely? No, probably not. So we're going to have to talk about that for just a second. We do 50 divided by 1068.
4.865.
So we have x is less than or equal to, how many decimal places y'all want to go? Like 2? Is that okay? Yeah. So 4.68. So wait, what were we talking about in this problem? What is x for us? It's how many cases of food that we can buy. So can I go to the grocery store and be like, I would like to buy 4.68 cases of food, please?
No, you can't buy half of them.
You can't buy partials, right?
So you round up to 5.
Can we buy
No,
5?
it will be 4.
Why is it gotta be? Is it 4 or 5? What do y'all think?
5 because
Tell me why you think
you
5.
should rather have more than not enough.
Okay. Why do you think it's gotta be 4?
Because you can't go over 50.
Can't go over $50. If we buy 5 boxes, try that. What's 10.68 times 5? Somebody type that in your calculator real quick. Tell me what you get.
I'm not doing them. I already know it's more than 50.
But also, what is this inequality? Right, it's more than 50. So that inequality sign, what does it tell you? X is bigger than 4.68 or smaller than? Smaller, right? So you've got to round down. Does that make sense? So we could buy 4 cases, or it says what are the possible numbers. You could have 4 cases. Could we buy less than that? So what are the other possible options we could buy? 3, 2, 1, or none. I'll say number of cases. So most of the time, y'all, you probably have to round down for these, even though our rounding rules tell us to round up, right? You've got to round down because you only have a certain amount of money. Questions on those? All right, cool. So we'll try another one. So this one says a family's taking a cross-country trip by car. They drive at an average speed of 55 miles per hour. So I think that sounds important, 55 miles per hour. Their goal is to travel at least 400 miles a day. So at least 400 miles a day. So how many hours per day do they need to drive? So how can we go about setting this up? If they go 55 miles per hour, do we know how long they're driving each day?
No.
So what do we put when we don't know? X. So how can we write it?
55.
Yeah. Because that's the speed they're going for however many hours. We don't know how many hours. And we want to go at least 400. So I'm going to put 400 on the other side. And then we've got to figure out our equality sign. So if they want to go at least 400,
Greater than equal
do we want to go more if we can?
to. Yes.
Right? So do we want to go this side bigger or less than 400?
Greater.
You can put an equal to on there if you want. Doesn't matter to me. So what do we do to solve that? Divide. So 400 divided by 55. Is it okay if we get a fraction this time or a decimal? Somebody said yes. Okay, so I'm going to show you how to fix that in your calculator. So if we have 400 divided by 55, you hit enter and you get this, yes? Can y'all see that? Is that better? Do we know how to make this a decimal? Control enter. That'll make it a decimal for you. Okay? You have to be careful though, because sometimes it will divide twice. It's something about how you type it in. So just watch and make sure that the number that you intended to divide is still over here. So I think if you do enter, well, whatever. I know there's sometimes that when you do it, it divides twice, so you get the wrong number. So just be careful and watch it. So we got 7.27. Are y'all still good round in 2 places? Okay. So this was talking about hours, right? So can you drive for 7.27 hours? Yeah, right? You don't have to drive for a full hour at a time, right? That'd be cool if we had to drive a full hour just to school, right? Just drive around in circles so that you get the full hour. So it's totally okay to have decimals there. So they need to drive at least 7.27 hours. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Yes, maybe?
Yeah.
Questions?
No.
Moving on to the next one. So Jordan's got a part-time job which pays $75 a week. He already has $55 saved towards the purchase of a $380 snowboard. What's the minimum number of weeks that he must work in order to have enough money to buy his snowboard? So they pay him $75 a week, but do we know how many weeks he's working?
No. Yeah.
So what are we gonna write?
75x.
But he's already saved 55. What do we do with that piece of information? So how much is this snowboard that he wants to buy?
$380.
So that goes on the other side. Now let's think about this. When you go buy something, do you want to have more than enough money, or do you want to have less money than what it actually costs?
More than enough, because then, you get some change back,
Yeah, and what else do they charge you? Tax, right? So you got to have more. So which side do we want to be bigger? How much money we have, or how much it costs? How much money we have? That side's got to be bigger for us. You could put it equal to, yeah. Mm-hmm. On all these, I'm okay either way. All right, let's see. Anson, what do we do first? So 380 minus 55. Dominic, what do we get? Good. 325. Colin, Howell, what's our next step from there? Where's he at? Divide by 75. So Trent, when we divide 325 by 75, what do we get? What? I didn't even hear you. It was a mumble. Do we get a fraction? 13 weeks. How do we use this? Control, enter. Okay, so look. This is what I was talking about. Right here. Is that what we wanted to divide? No. So you need to go back and like double check it. So 13 divided by 3. Control, enter. That'll give us the right number. Yeah. All right, so what was X for us problem? Number of weeks, right? So when you go to your job, can you tell them, I only want to work 4.33 weeks? Will they let you do that?
I mean, if you have like your own company,
Are most places going to let you work 0.33 weeks or 0.33 of a week? No. So what are we probably going to have to do? Can we work 4 weeks or do we need to round up to 5? Why do we need to round up? What do you think? More money, right? And we always say we want more if we can have it because they're going to charge you tax. Maybe you decide you also want, like, I don't know, like a helmet or other snowboarding things. I don't know what you do for that. I don't snowboard. So you got to work at least 5 weeks. So in case your logic failed you on this one, it says X was greater than 4.33, so that also tells you that you need to round which direction, up or down? Up, because it says X is greater. Does that make sense? Questions on that one? Anything we're not sure about, I don't understand?
So would the answer be still
If you solve this inequality, that's your answer. But if it's asking you how many weeks minimum he must work, that's when it's 5. Because they're not going to let you work part of a week. So for these problems, you have to be very, very careful for your context. Because if it is like a whole case of food or a whole week at work, you've got to round to whole numbers, regardless of whatever you get for your answer. Does that make any sense? Questions? So for the next one, Keith has 500 in his savings account at the beginning of December. So we'll start with 500. He wants to have at least 200 in the account by the end of summer. At least 200. He withdraws $20 each week for food and gas. So how many weeks can he withdraw money? So we start with how much? 500. Then it says at the end he wants to have at least 200. That's going to be on the other side, so I'm going to hold off on using that. It says he's going to withdraw 25 each week. So what does withdraw tell you? Minus. Because you're taking money out of your account, right? So that's going to take away from whatever you've got. Then 25 each week. But do we know how many weeks? So what are we going to put? So now on the other side, we could talk about our at least 200. So he wants to have at least 200 left in his account at the end. So do you want more if you can have it? If it says at least, or do we want less than that? Right, so if it says at least, that's the smallest you want it to go. So we want what we've got left over to be bigger if possible. Questions on how we set anything up? All right. Michael is asleep. Sierra, what do we do to solve?
Subtract 500.
Yeah. So we've got negative 25x is greater than, what's 200 minus 500, y'all? Negative 300. Hunter Marshall, what do we do from there?
Do what? Divide.
By what?
55.
Positive or negative?
Negative.
Okay. So y'all, when you divide by negative, what happens to your inequality? It does what? Your inequality sign switches. 300 divided by 25. You don't need a calculator for this. That's like $3. How many quarters are in $3? Y'all are so smart. Do we have to do anything with our answer there? Round it one direction or the other? No. So we can just leave it at 12 because we got a whole number. So we're good to go. What's that? Was that supposed to be like a mic drop? Yeah. Oh. Questions at all? All right. So next one, number 5. So Carlos gets to the fair where it costs $5 to get in and 80 cents per ride. He's allowed to spend at most $25. So how many rides can he go on? So $5 to get in and 80 cents per ride. Can we make an equation with that?
0.80x plus 5.
So why does the 0.80 have an X on it?
Because it says
Per. Y'all remember that little bitty word we said these times? Right? So per ride is 80 cents, and then they charge you $5 just to walk through the gates. So that's our plus 5. How much money do we have? 25. So can we spend more than we have?
No.
So do we need a less than or a greater than? All right, so to start, Evan, what do we do? Minus 5. Rachel, what do we do from there? Yes, ma'am. Divide by 0.80. Savannah, what do we get? 25. So do we need to round any direction with that? No. So the most number of rides that he could go on would be what? 25. He could also go on 24 or 26? 24. So anything less than 25, right? Which is exactly what our expression says. Questions on that? Are these pretty easy? Are we like okay with this? Y'all are kind of quiet, so I'm just not sure. All right, so we'll do the last one. So suppose you write a book. The printer charges you $4 per book to print. So they're going to charge you $4 per book. You spend $3,500 on advertising. You sell the book for $15 a copy. So how many copies must you sell so that your income from sales is greater than your total cost? Yep, we are. So I'm going to break this one down just a little bit before we get started, okay? So we want to know when our income is greater than our cost. Are we okay with that? So now I'm going to read back through the problem and we'll decide each piece of information they give us whether it's an income or a cost, okay? So where they said they charge you $4 per book. Is that income or cost? Cost. So $4 per book, how are we going to write it? 4x. Then it says you spend $3,500 on advertising. Is that an income or a cost? So what do we need to do with that? We're going to add because it's adding to our total cost. If we were taking it away from what we already knew we had made, then we would subtract. So that's what subtract. But does that make sense? Yeah. All right. Then it says you sell the book for $15 a copy. So is that an income or a cost? Income. So that's going to go on the other side. So we'll write 15x. Because you sell it for $15 a copy.
But it's just a single book. That's what it is. You're gonna sell every copy, or that's your goal at least.
Okay, hold on. Wait. Don't call me.
We all right? Yes, no, maybe? Okay, so I'm going to bring down our inequality sign, and then we can just go solve that, okay? So we've got variables on each side. So let's see. Here's what I picked on. I already picked on true. What do we need to do?
Minus 4.
Why would we want a minus 4x? Anybody else know? We want our x's on the same side. Which side do we probably want them to be on? Left, because we're doing inequalities. It doesn't really matter, but also we want to get away from the other stuff, so I think it's going to be most helpful to move that 4x. Your other option would be to minus 15x. I wouldn't do that here, but that's just me. Ashton, what do we do from there? We've got 11x is greater than 3,500. So we're dividing by 11. So 3,500 divided by 11. Y'all let me know what you get. Oh, we got decimal again. So what'd y'all get? So what is x for us this time? So they're your number of books, right? So when you go to the bookstore, can you buy just 0.18 of a book? You gotta buy the whole thing, right?
So you got about 2 books. Wait, no, you got about 1 book. You don't have no money.
So it's gonna be 319.
Is it gonna be 319 or 318? What do we think? Why do we think 319?
You got
It says greater than, so that tells you to round up. Also, we want to make sure that our income is more than our cost, right? So you gotta make more. You gotta break even. So yeah, I would round up to at least 319 books. Questions on any of those? So do you feel like experts yet?